Okay, now that I've mentally recovered from Justice League and all that, I actually had to do some research to see like how well, because there was a big gap between this, like the last Justice League, and this movie we're about to talk about now. Apparently, it was over a year gap. I wanted to make sure that was correct because I felt a little off. But granted, after the disaster that was, I don't blame him. So the next DCEU movie rabbit hole thing we're going down is Aquaman. I knew going into this that this is the highest grossing DCEU film. It's really funny that it's Aquaman of all things, a really goofy character. Granted, I think this movie is pretty goofy as well, so it matches that. It's not a fully serious movie, and I really enjoy that. But I'm pretty sure this movie got a pretty good response. It wasn't over the moon like Wonder Woman or anything, but it was not a disaster. But granted, maybe that's why it made so much money. Granted, it's one of the only sequels that is still carrying over, to my knowledge, into the DCU, like the new revamped James Gunn stuff, but we don't know that for sure yet. And plus, apparently, like rumors going around about the sequel that it's not that very good. It's still coming out this year though, so we'll see what happens. But either way, I think Aquaman's a pretty fun movie. Like, I don't think there's much else to say about it. There's not much to dive into, honestly. I do know that the comparisons of the plot between this and Black Panther are pretty open now, and on top of that, I agree with it. But granted, I do like that story of royalty in general, just the same stories. I'll watch any movie or show with that kind of story, and seeing in a movie like Aquaman, of all things, is just really funny. I do think the visual effects are pretty good in this as well. I mean, especially since a lot of the movies underwater and there's this whole underwater kingdom. Granted, it's not on the level of like say the last Avatar movie. I feel like it would have been much more of a sensation if the last Avatar was like the newest Avatar film. But it's still pretty cool. The behind the scenes stuff where like they're comping out the hair when they shoot and like they come back and then they use CGI to bring in like their hair is pretty cool. Speaking of that, good God, what is going on with my hair? Although, what I think my favorite part about this is the action. This honestly, it didn't have to go that hard. I really do think like in terms of DC movie action, I feel like this is the gold standard, and I can't believe it's Aquaman. Especially that first fight sequence in the entire movie with Nicole Kidman, which why is Nicole Kidman in an Aquaman movie? But also like it's like almost like a drone is shooting it and it's going across this entire room and it's not shaking or anything. It's really impressive. I know that James Wan made this technology specifically for this movie and he used it for his next film Malignant and it looks great in there too. So I I just think it looks really cool. The acting in this is perfectly fine. I think just I will say though, I think Jason Momoa has an incredible amount of charisma. Like in anything I watch him in, but especially as Aquaman. And if I'm being honest, it's kind of getting me excited for the next Fast and Furious of all things, which I will be seeing because I saw the last one in theaters. And while I didn't like it, I had a really fun time watching that. But yeah, it's a lot goofier than I remember. Like of course it's Aquaman. It's a goofy character. Ooh, something is going on with my voice today. I don't know what it is. It's been going on all day, but I guess it's been a while since I've done a video, but I guess I'm gonna end this video because I don't know, man. Aquaman is just a cool movie. It's a cool movie. Honestly, I did have it at an 8 out of 10 when I did it, but if I'm being honest, I think I'm just gonna bump it down to a 7 because I don't know what I was thinking with that 8. Although I do want to point out something about this movie that makes me lose my mind. There is a scene in this where Aquaman and Mera, played by Amber Heard, go out onto a beach, right? And they have to play a song when they come out of the water. They play a Pitbull song that remixes Africa by Toto. This is real. I mean, the movie's been out for 5 years, but at first I was thinking like, oh, that's a weird song to pick for this movie. And then I do some research. Uh, they made it for the movie. Like there it is. I don't know if it's gonna be flipped on here, but look at that. That says Ocean to Ocean featuring Rhea, which I feel like I'm being gaslit because I always thought it was Rita Ora singing that part. I could be getting gaslit on that if I'm being totally honest. Yeah, Aquaman. It's a fun one. I'll give it that. But granted, like what I'm feeling with this video right now, this feels more like an obligation than anything like, oh, I'm watching all the DCEU movies. Let's watch Aquaman. So yeah, 7 out of 10. Perfectly fine. Yeah, I guess I had a lot less to say about this than I thought I did. So I'm gonna leave it to you guys. How do you feel about Aquaman? Is this good enough to want a sequel out of this? And also, especially directed by James Wan, who I think did a good job with this movie. And well, let me know what you think. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next video. See ya.